How you doing, guys? It is Bland Partners Inner Circle time, and I just broadcasting this actually to a broader audience again because it's Wednesday. We go live every Wednesday in the Inner Circle for Bland Partners, talking about business tips, how to get more success, how to build a business, and how to really take you to the next level. And I'm running a bit behind today, so apologies for that because it's been a busy few days. I'm just back from South Africa where I had a fantastic trip where I went over to see some of the Bland partners in and around the Johannesburg area. And one partner in particular, Marius, was our host over there. And whilst we were over there, we did a little sort of interview with Marius for the benefit of the partners that were in the room. We had about 7 other partners there. And it brought up a couple of things. I have recorded the interview, by the way, and we'll be sharing that with all the Bland partners. But it brought up a couple of things that I thought would be useful to share with a broader audience for anybody who is running their own business or thinking about running their own business. Because there's one thing in particular that stood out, and it is quite an important thing for you to get your head around, not something necessarily that comes to mind straight away when you think about traits of an entrepreneur. However, I'm sure there was somebody like Confucius or Buddha or one of those that said this, and it's knowing yourself, knowing the kind of person that you are and how you go about your business, how you go about your daily life, how you react to things, because we are all different and we get bombarded as entrepreneurs with all these different tips and all these different traits and all these different things that we should be doing to try and discover the secret of success. And one of the things that often occurs to me, particularly when you see somebody who's super successful and they're giving advice about how they did it, these people have got some, some serious skills that means that they apply the learnings in a way different from other people, mere mortals like us. So how do we get the most out of our own skill set? How do we get the most out of what we do? And speaking to Marius, it was really interesting because Marius knew instinctively that he was one of those people. I said this about Marius right from the start, that likes to take the back off the telly. So what do I mean like that? Somebody who needs to know everything about the thing that they are selling, producing, providing, the service, whatever it might be. And he knew instinctively that if he did not take the back off the telly with the Bland Partnership Program, with our systems, processes, our products and services, that he just couldn't do his job properly. He would have felt so uncomfortable. It would have hindered him from moving forward. So he effectively spent nearly a year doing a huge deep dive into the whole world of marketing, of websites, of running a business, and all the stuff that goes with it. And as he said to us, he said, you guys, I bet I used to drive you mad, because he used to really sort of plunge in and dig around and get as much information out of us as possible. In actual fact, we love that, guys, because it means that we know we've got somebody who's really, really engaged. So but in a way, what I wanted to explain to the people that we're presenting to, that the way that Marius has built his business, and he's now got a super successful business, is not necessarily the way that they would do it. So there are fundamentals that are consistent, but because of his personality, he had to change the way that he went about it because he needed to adapt to his own strengths, to his own way about going about things. And as I pointed out, I'm not necessarily somebody that likes to take the back off the telly in the early days. I'm much more the kind of person, know myself, that would rather dive in and do something and learn by doing than somebody that needs to know everything before I actually apply. So that is just one trait. That is one kind of variable from one end of the spectrum to the other. That is one of many things that you need to know about yourself in order to get the most out of your entrepreneurial journey. Now, some of us, one of our weaknesses may be that we're not very good at knowing what our strengths are, what it is that we are good at, the way in which we go about it, that is sort of emotional intelligence of understanding how we are from a sort of outside perspective, is not necessarily that comes naturally to everybody. I say this because I was kind of one of those guys right back when I first started my business. I was one of those guys that was a bit insensitive. I was a bit blissfully unaware of my own kind of weaknesses and didn't really pay much attention to other people's strengths and weaknesses either. But it wasn't long when running my business that I did become aware that this was actually a bit of a flaw in the way that I was delivering, in the way that I was trying to help my customers, help my staff, help my team. It was something that was actually holding me back. So it was really interesting to me when I found out that there was actually a system out there that really resonated with me, because it was very much takes a positive stance on how to identify your strengths and then work with those strengths to make you aware of them, other people aware of them, and then the way you go about your business can be informed by knowing your own personality and what you'll be good at and what you're not good at. And that is a really important thing in my book, because once you know yourself, you can focus on the stuff that you're really good at, and we're all different, and then you can outsource the stuff that you're not. Or at least if you can't outsource it, you'll know where your strengths are, you'll know what you've got to work on, but you know you're going to be, climbing a steeper hill in that regard. So how do you find out what your strengths are? Well, back in the day, I used to use a book called the Strengths Test, and used to buy a book. Used to get it off Amazon. It used to be delivered to me, and then the book had all of the different traits and strengths in it. And then there was a little code at the back where you filled out a form online, and then they gave you a list of strengths. Things have moved on quite a bit since that, and I now use a test that is called the High Five Test. And I'm going to share my screen right now just to show you what that looks like, because I've taken the opportunity to, where are we, share the screen, entire screen, here we go, to show you what it looks like. So this is a test that is halfway through, and effectively what it does is it asks you 120 questions like this one, and then it gets you to rate it whether you totally agree on a sliding scale or totally disagree. So this one, I believe no matter what happens to me, I will inevitably bounce back. I've got to be honest, I totally agree with that. I totally resonate with that. You may not. That's the point. Everybody's different, and you get to rate it where you think it's appropriate. So if I do the next one, I am energized when I help someone experience success. Now, my job, doing it right now, hopefully, is helping people achieve success. I couldn't agree more with that one. And now I'll go on to the next one. So you get more and more of these. You get 120 of these. It's actually quite a fun test. It takes about half an hour. And at the end, it's going to give you your top 5 strengths. And those strengths are going to help inform you. You can actually upgrade the test as well, so that you can release a lot more, and it gives you lots of information. Test completely free, by the way, the first test. There is a little upsell for you if you want to go into more detail, which I would recommend. Actually, it's really, really useful. But first and foremost, it's going to tell you what your personality type is, and then look at your business and say to yourself, what in my business resonates and coordinates with these 5 strengths? What should I be doing more of? What am I really good at? And how do I adjust the way that I go about my business in alignment with those strengths? So just like using that analogy with Marius, he knew that he was the kind of guy that was high attention to detail. He needed the reassurance, taking the back off the telly. So he adjusted his business by really doing that deep dive and learning everything about the business. Other people will only need to do that to a certain level, to nowhere near the extent that Marius does. But there's loads of other things. Are you really good at presenting? Is presenting something that you're really good at? Are you really good at looking at the numbers? Do you like diving into the numbers, getting all those kind of things sorted? Could it be that you're more on the creative side of things, or you're a people person, you like nurturing? There's all these different variables, loads of different results that comes out of the High Five test. I'm going to post it into the feed so that you guys can have a go at this yourself. I recommend that everybody finds out what their strengths are. It's also really good when you're building a team, when you know what the strengths of your team members are and you can make sure they're in alignment with the role that they're performing. And that way you can manage them much better and make sure that they're working to their strengths. When we're working to our strengths, guys, we are working in alignment with the positivity that that provides. We're going to be more efficient, more effective. We're going to get better results. So I'll post it below. I would love to find out what your strengths are, guys. If you want to share those with me, I'll be more than happy to take a look at that and give feedback. I've been using the Strength Finder test now for must be 15 years, and it's a vital tool in the arsenal of running a business. Enjoy it. I'll post it in the link. Have a great rest of the day. Have a great February, and I'll see you next week.